Hello everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into one of the most potent yet rarely discussed psychological frameworks in existence. We're calling it the God Protocol. Now, that name might sound like something ripped from a spy thriller or a science fiction epic, but I assure you, what we're about to discuss is terrifyingly real. This isn't about futuristic technology or psychic powers. It's about a systematic, repeatable, and devastatingly effective application of human psychology. It's a blueprint used by cults, radical political movements, and even sophisticated state-level actors to exert profound, almost absolute influence over individuals and the masses. We're talking about a process that can take a rational, independent thinker and, step by step, transform them into an unwavering devotee, willing to sacrifice their relationships, their wealth, and sometimes even their life for a cause. Have you ever looked at a news story about a bizarre cult and wondered, how could anyone fall for that? Or maybe you've seen a friend or family member get swept up in a high-demand group or an extreme ideology, and watched in horror as the person you knew seemed to vanish, replaced by someone who speaks in slogans and sees the world in black and white. The disbelief is understandable. We like to think of ourselves as masters of our own minds, that our beliefs are the product of rational thought and careful consideration. But the God Protocol operates beneath the surface of our conscious awareness. It doesn't attack our logic head-on. Instead, it targets the very foundations of who we are, our deepest vulnerabilities, our powerful cognitive biases, and our innate primal desires for belonging, for purpose, and for certainty in a chaotic world. It's the blueprint for how minds are subtly, insidiously, and often irreversibly hijacked. To truly grasp its power, think of the human mind not as a fortress, but as an operating system. This OS has its own programming, developed over millions of years of evolution. We are hardwired to form tribes, to trust charismatic leaders, and to seek out simple answers to complex questions. The God Protocol is like a sophisticated piece of malware. It doesn't crash the system. Instead, it quietly installs itself, rewriting the core code, one line at a time. It changes the user's perception of reality, redefines their values, and ultimately gives complete administrative control to an external operator, the cult leader, the political demagogue, the state propagandist. The victim doesn't feel like they're being controlled. They feel like they've been enlightened. They feel like they finally found the truth. Let's consider a concrete analogy. Imagine you're lost in a vast, dark forest. You're cold, hungry, and terrified. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the trees with a lantern, a warm blanket, and a map. They tell you they know the way to a hidden sanctuary, a place of warmth, safety, and community. In your desperation, you follow them without question. This is the first step. The protocol doesn't begin with threats. It begins with salvation. It finds people who are already feeling lost, whether due to a personal crisis, loneliness, or a general sense of disillusionment with the world. It offers them a lantern in the dark. But what they don't realize is that the map doesn't lead to a universal sanctuary. It leads to a very specific walled-off garden. And once you're inside, the gates are quietly locked behind you. The figure with the lantern slowly becomes your only source of light, your only guide, your only perceived source of safety. Every other path is dismissed as dangerous and dark. This is the essence of the God Protocol. It offers a solution to a real human need, but the price of that solution is your autonomy. Today, we begin to pull back the curtain on this chilling process. We will expose its mechanisms, dissect its tactics, and reveal why understanding this protocol isn't just a matter of academic curiosity. It is a crucial act of mental self-defense in an age of unprecedented information warfare and psychological manipulation. So, how does this malware for the mind actually install itself? The God Protocol isn't a single action, but a multi-stage process. A sequence of psychological attacks that systematically dismantle a person's identity and replaces it with one designed by the group. It rests on several key pillars, each one exploiting a well-documented feature of human psychology. Let's break them down. The first and perhaps most disarming pillar is love bombing. This is the gateway. It's an overwhelming explosion of affection, affirmation, and attention. New recruits aren't just welcomed, they are celebrated. They're told they are brilliant, special, and have a unique destiny that only this group can help them fulfill. Imagine a young person feeling adrift and insecure. They attend a meeting and are instantly surrounded by people who hang on their every word, praise their insights, and shower them with compliments and invitations. This isn't just flattery, it's a powerful biochemical assault. It floods the brain with dopamine and oxytocin, the same neurochemicals responsible for the euphoria of falling in love and the deep bonds between a parent and child. This creates an immediate, intense emotional connection to the group and a feeling of indebtedness. The recruit thinks, "I've finally found my people. They truly see me." In reality, this manufactured affection is a tool, creating a powerful emotional hook that will be used later to reel them in when doubts arise. Once the hook is set, the second pillar is erected: isolation. This is a gradual, insidious process. It starts with subtle suggestions. Your old friends, they don't really understand the new you. Or your family is holding you back from your true potential with their negativity. The group redefines the outside world as toxic, unenlightened, or even dangerous. This creates a psychological buffer. Simultaneously, the recruit's time is monopolized with group activities, meetings, retreats, and special projects, leaving less and less time for outside contact. Information is also controlled. Access to critical news, dissenting websites, or contact with former members is discouraged or outright forbidden. The group becomes the sole arbiter of reality. This creates an echo chamber, a self-reinforcing information bubble. Think of it like a soundproof room. Once you're inside, the only voice you can hear is the one being piped in by the controllers. All other perspectives fade into silence, making the group's narrative the only one that seems real or valid. With the target isolated and emotionally bonded, the third pillar is brought in: the exploitation of cognitive dissonance. This is the uncomfortable mental state we experience when we hold two conflicting beliefs or when our actions contradict our values. The God protocol deliberately induces this state. For example, a recruit who values honesty might be asked to lie to their parents about where they're going or what they're doing. This creates immense internal conflict. To resolve it, the person has two choices: reject the group that is asking them to lie, or change their internal value system. Because of the love bombing and isolation, rejecting the group feels like psychological suicide. So the easier path is to rationalize. They tell themselves, the group's mission is so important that the normal rules don't apply. This lie is for a greater good. Each time they do this, they rewrite a piece of their own moral code, aligning it more closely with the group's ideology. This is often coupled with the sunk cost fallacy. The more time, money, and emotional energy a person invests, the harder it is to admit it was a mistake. They have to believe it's right, otherwise the personal cost is too devastating to contemplate. Finally, these pillars are cemented in place by social proof and authority bias, which work in tandem to create an us versus them mentality. Social proof is our tendency to see an action as more appropriate when others are doing it. When a recruit is in a room with hundreds of other fervent believers, all chanting, all agreeing, all emotionally engaged, it creates immense pressure to conform. Doubts feel foolish and isolating. Authority bias is our tendency to attribute greater accuracy and moral standing to the opinion of an authority figure. The leader of the group is deliberately elevated to an infallible, often messianic status. Their word becomes law, overriding the individual's own critical thinking. This creates the ultimate psychological trap. The group is always right, social proof, and the leader is the ultimate source of truth, authority bias. Anyone outside the group, the them, is painted as ignorant, evil, or part of a conspiracy against the enlightened us. This solidifies group identity, demonizes dissent, and makes leaving feel not just a disagreement, but a betrayal of truth itself. These pillars don't stand alone. They interlock to form a psychological prison from which escape is incredibly difficult. Understanding these mechanisms isn't about judging the victims, it's about recognizing the systematic, predatory nature of the process. It is a formula, and knowing the formula is the first and most critical step toward building an immunity to this kind of mental hijacking. What do you think is the most subtle yet powerful form of psychological manipulation you've ever witnessed or experienced in everyday life? Subscribe for more deep dives into the human mind, and we'll see you in the next one.